think the lessons that we take from each game, and everybody has to, you always look back and think, what could I have done better? What should I have done better? And the lessons I took from the game were quite simple. I think we took an age to change, and what I mean by change is we played against that system so many times, and we know how to, during the course of a game, we know how to deal with the 3 against 2 man advantage that Wealdstone had in the middle of the park. But for some reason, in 30-35 minutes, we didn't deal with that. It looked like we didn't want to deal with it. It looked like one or two players were just thinking, well, eventually we'll get enough possession and we'll win the game. Football, you've got to give people credit for what they do. They made 4 or 5 changes, and I believe them 4 or 5 changes was down to international call-ups. So straight away, regardless of whether Wealdstone are part-time or not, doesn't matter. They can boast 4 or 5 internationals. It doesn't matter what level, neither, To be in international football, you've got to be a decent player. So we could have said after the game that we caught Wealdstone at the right time, but 30-35 minutes into it, it looked like a bad day at the office. So we had to do something about it, which we did. And then consequently got a foothold in the game. Unfortunately, at that moment when we conceded the goal, we had changed system, formation. We were starting to deal with Wealdstone a little bit better, but then the gap that it created in the back 4 was exploited by Wealdstone, and consequently they went 1-0 up just before half time. What I took from the game then was the information that they were given at half time was well received. It was listened to, it was adhered to during the course of the second half, and I thought at times it looked one-way traffic that we looked like we were going to get an equaliser and maybe go on to win the game. And that's the regret I have, We've just done a video session. I don't do too many video sessions, but the video sessions have to have a purpose, and the purpose of today's video session was the fact that we've drawn 4 games out of 4. Now, if you're a positive manager, which I am, you could say undefeated in 4. If you're a negative manager, which I have to be realistic, did we have any opportunities to win them games? And I think we did. I think we did at the end of the Bromley, draw. I think Sammy Robinson had a great opportunity to win the game for us. But so did Chief, in the game against Wealdstone. He hit the crossbar from a corner. I'm waiting for one of them corners to drop in. I'm waiting for a set piece to manifest itself, and I can bang that drum a little bit harder, because set pieces win games. You can come here on Saturday or Friday, shall we say, and watch the game of football for 90 minutes, and it might be just that moment in a set piece where we've got something right, maybe delivery, and somebody's got on the end of it, being brave, and the ball's in the back of the net, and you win the game. And we've got to think about these things because they're so important. With 5 games to go, the key moments in games of football, we've had in the last 4 draws, we've had key moments at the end of the games where we could have gone on to win the game. And that's 6 or maybe 8 points thrown away. If you look at 6 or 8 points on top of what we've got so far, we'd nearly be there. We'd nearly be in the safe zone, as it were, with 5 games to go. And I keep on saying to the players, and I keep on saying to everybody involved at Kidderminster Harriers, we have to do it early. You can't wait until the last game of the season, because anything could happen then, But, with the games coming up thick and fast over the weekend, we've got to focus all our attention on a real tough game against Altrincham on Friday. And we can't look any further than that. It's the most important game in our fixtures, regardless of the 5 that we've got to play or the 41 that have gone before. And this is the most important one because it's the next one.
You mentioned obviously playing at this level, mistakes happen, that goes with the territory. But they've got to be switched on from the first ones, particularly this stage of the season. You can forgive the odd mistake, because that can happen, as I mentioned, but the attitude's got to be absolutely spot on. That must have been disappointing at Wealdstone, really.
Maybe the attitude was in question, and I always apportion blame to myself where that's concerned. If I haven't got the pre-match vibe or hype or pre-match talk correct, I might not have, Sam used to say to me all the time, you've got to deliver it at the right time so that the players understand it first and foremost, it goes in secondly, and they can do something about it thirdly. Now, that can be 5 minutes before they go out, that can be an hour or 2 before they go out, depending on the group. And depending on the influence that you have off the field of play. When the skip was in the middle of the park, I could deliver things to him, very tactically away, it has to be said, you know, Shane Byrne. Had a lot of nous about the game and how it changed, it ebbed and flowed, and maybe we're missing that little bit of nous to a certain extent. Chief, to a certain extent, gives it in a different way. Very calming influence, has that effect on his own changing room. But sometimes you need that voice, that vociferous creature on the field of play, issuing instructions, barking instructions, and it seems to me as if I'm the one that's doing it from the touchline, but maybe it's not going into certain players. So there's lots of things to think about, you know, where football's concerned, but the most important part is the importance of winning a game on Friday, the importance that sets you up for the game on Monday, the importance that it sets you up for the end of the season campaign, and the level of importance it means to everybody at Kidderminster the Harriers, you know, whether you're a supporter, whether you work for the football club, whether you're a manager or a player. It has to be important that we survive this year, you know, and if we're not showing that in the commitment that we give on Friday against Altrincham, then we shouldn't be here.
Correct me if I'm wrong now, but it is about the mental side now. If they're not physically fit by now at this stage of the season, they're never going to be, really, are they? So it is about composure and attitude.
The mental part of the game is the key factor with regards to any game of football, whether you're playing for Chesterfield and your season's, you know, in effect over because you've won promotion. Do they take their foot off the gas, and their mentality is going to be important, I suppose, in every game from now to the end of the season? But our mentality is more important than that. Ours is still alive. It can be a fantastic season. At the end of it all, as good as Chesterfield's. I know Chesterfield's been promoted, but survival sometimes can spur you on to better things. It can make you realise the game of football and how important it is. It is life or death, you know, to families. It means a lot to individuals as well as families. So if you don't understand that part, as I say, you shouldn't be at the football club. Don't come in my changing room now and think, well, all I need to do is just turn up and it'll be okay. You've got to turn up with a purpose. You've got to turn up with the attitude. You've got to turn up with the ability, because the manager's picked you first and foremost. You've got to keep that guy who's chasing you for your shirt. You've got to keep him out by performing to the best of your ability. So all of them things are still in play, but the level of importance, I keep coming back to it. You know, you can go on to better things. You can afford to do better things. There's lots to like about survival campaigns. There's lots to like about winning. And it's certainly the best part of the game for me.
I suspect if I offered most Harriers fans 4 points out of 6 now over the Easter weekend, they'd probably bite my hand off. Would you?
Not saying I know your job by any stretch of the imagination, but I was thinking myself as I was driving in this morning, that question might be coming my way, and what would I take? But if truth be known, if we only drew tomorrow and then we beat Chesterfield on Monday, that's what you've just given me. But I think tomorrow's not even a win at all costs game. It's one of them where we're getting close to the edge. We're getting close to the end of the season, and we need to start winning games of football again. We did it sort of clockwork, I would have said, when we first arrived, by winning 4 on the bounce. And I've looked at that team and I've looked at that formation many times, and that team's available to me. Again, with Matty Preston back to full fitness, even Sammy Robinson, people like that, you know, they're all back to full fitness. But since then we've had another 12-13 games, and you formulate your own opinion, you formulate your own relationship with these players individually and collectively. Some players that we've signed now have stepped up to the plate. You know, the new ones are coming through now. The levels of fitness where J. Emmanuel Thomas is concerned, for instance. The new signing of Charlie Weston's shown great pictures to everybody on the training ground, and at some stage he's going to get a run out. But you know, with Alex Penny coming back to full fitness and how much the club means to him, and Cole Pakawa, you know, you're talking about players who, they're big enough to play at this level, they're certainly good enough to play at this level, but we've just got to get that formula right, you know, the combination of defence, midfield and attack, and gelling all of that together in time for this game tomorrow. And that's, I'm not even thinking about Chesterfield. I know managers will say that, but I really am not thinking about Chesterfield. I'm thinking about the 3 points. So Alex Ferguson used to always say it's squeaky bum time, and this is where you get paid your big bucks. This is why people call you professional footballer. And if you're not professional enough to understand how much it means to people, then you're at the wrong football club, because I've been emphasising that all week, and I will continue to emphasise that from now to the end of the season. This is about being in the National League next season, and it starts tomorrow by winning.
Last point of all, obviously the fact you're playing on Good Friday gives you an extra 24 hours recovery time before the Monday game at Chesterfield. Given you are away at Chesterfield on Monday, and they're clearly a very good side, does that impact anyway on your selection for tomorrow? In the sense you've got 2 games in rapid order?
Not in the game tomorrow. In particular, not in the game tomorrow. I think you've got to put your strongest team out, and if that strongest team is impressive enough to perform well enough to one, first and foremost, get the result. But there's always circumstances with the result. A clean sheet, for instance, you could concede 3 goals and still win 4-3, and therefore your mind's all over the place. You could win it clinically 1-0, you could win it clinically by a country mile, and you're then rewarding strikers by keeping their shirt because they've scored goals, or you're rewarding defenders. So there's lots of things to think about as a manager in the 2 days between the 2 games, but the most important thing is that I pick the right team, the right system, the right formation, and the right kind of mentality for tomorrow's game. And then hopefully we'll be able to talk again on Sunday. I know it's Easter weekend, and people have got holidays, they've got families to think about, and religion and whatever. But my religion at the moment is getting against the Harriers. My religion at the moment is winning games of football, and that's what I'm ploughing all my energies and efforts into. If the players are thinking the same way and committing the same way, then we've got a great chance of winning the game tomorrow, more importantly than Monday, and then building something with regards to the game on Monday. So there's lots of questions to be answered this weekend, and hopefully one of the main questions is that by the end of the weekend we might be a little bit clearer to where we're going to be division-wise next season.
Lovely, thank you very much.
Just a final quick point on Altrincham, because it's one of the timings-wise, you haven't had the opportunity to see too many of the teams in this league already up close, but obviously you were here for the FA Trophy game here. Just your thoughts on them, because they obviously have a very unique style, and they too have got sort of high stakes, haven't they, between now and the end of the season? Very
much so, yeah. And I like teams that come to Agborough with a purpose, and whether that purpose is to win promotion or to stave off relegation, you're always going to get commitment towards that cause. Altrincham are at the right end of the division because the consistency levels of the manager, of his team selection, and more importantly of the team individually. And the game that we watched, the 0-0 draw and then won on penalties in the trophy, was an interesting game from both points of view. One, what it looks like to be at the top end of this division, more importantly, and what does it take. And they look like a well-drilled team, albeit they had 3 or 4 changes that came off the bench and provided probably more strength. So I've been looking at what they can actually throw at us, and certainly where the front 4 are concerned, I'm talking about if they're playing a 4-2-3-1, the 7, the 10, the 11 and the 9 might be a little bit different from the starting 11 that played against us in the FA Trophy, but we know what to expect from them in terms of style of football, and we know that they're playing to win, and therefore when you've got 2 teams playing to win, hopefully it'll be a decent game, hopefully it'll be an attractive game for the crowd, because we're hoping that the crowd's going to turn up, but hopefully it's a successful one for the home side.